to winning isn't easy. Let's talk about the intersection of Social Security, disability, and ERISA litigation, and particularly comparing Step 4 of the Social Security's past relevant work requirement and the any occupation requirement of most ERISA disability policies. At Step 4, your past relevant work, known as PRW, is important because Social Security has to determine whether you can go back to the lightest and simplest job you held in the 15 years before you became disabled. Now, it used to be 15. It's being changed to 5, and so I haven't got that quite out of my head yet. Social Security is going to review the work history form that you completed, like the work history form you completed in your ERISA claim. Hopefully, there is consistency between what you put on your Social Security work history form and your ERISA form, at least as it relates to the last 5 years. But Social Security is going to look at that work history form, and they're going to compare it to the IRS earning records because they want to make sure they understand exactly what your past work is. Next, the Social Security Administration has in the past used the outdated Dictionary of Occupational Titles to determine your occupation and the job within the occupational trailer. The applicable DOT code indicates both the exertional level and the skill level. But guess what? Social Security is now changing that. They're not actually going to use the DOT because the DOT is really outdated. And a lot of the work that's being performed these days, it requires a significant amount of computer skills and other skills that simply didn't exist or weren't required back in 1991 when the DOT was last updated. But I think this is relevant because there is this exertional level analysis that sounds similar, if you will, to what happens in the context of an ERISA case. Now, what we're trying to determine in the context of a Social Security case at Step 4 is your physical exertional level, and they will make a determination of that based on a review of your medical records, the opinions of the SSA consulting physicians, and the opinion of the treating physicians. Now, that sounds pretty similar to what goes on in the context of ERISA. There are 5 exertional levels, and these exertional levels are used also in the context of your ERISA disability case. There's very heavy, medium, light, and sedentary. These exertional levels can be impacted by non-exertional impairments that can reduce the full range of the physical requirements, and that can have an impact. The determination of the occupation, the exertional level, and the reduction of the exertional level based on non-exertional impairments is really the basis to win a Social Security case, to prove that you can't do that lightest or simplest job you held in the 5 years before you became disabled. Now, the analysis is different in the context of an ERISA case because they're looking generally at the work that you were doing at the time you became disabled and translating that job into an occupation. I don't think that disability carriers are going to be following the lead anytime soon of Social Security. Carriers are still going to look at that Dictionary of Occupational Titles, particularly if the policy or plan requires that. That means that they are going to look at the exertional levels and try to classify the physical requirements of your occupation. They will ignore the non-exertional impairments and any reduction in the exertional level based on non-exertional impairments. What are non-exertional impairments? The need to alternate sitting and stand, the need to take breaks, being off pace, having problems with bilateral manual dexterity. What happens in the context of an ERISA case is that the carrier or the plan has your doctor complete an attending physician statement form that doesn't ask the right questions on purpose. The carrier will have your records reviewed together with the treating physician's opinions about your restrictions to determine, in fact, what they really believe to be your physical exertional level. And they're going to use peer review reports, independent medical evaluations, functional capacity evaluations to attack the residual functional capacity that your physician opined that you had. Or they'll just cherry pick the doctor's records and disagree with your treating physician. Now, we Social Security lawyers have developed residual functional capacity forms based on different medical conditions to address the right questions in regard to both the exertional and non-exertional functional levels. I use these every day in my Social Security cases, and I use these as an adjunct to the ERISA attending physician statement forms because those APS forms don't ask the right questions because carriers don't want to know the right answers, do they? So step 4 somewhat sounds like the own occupation standard. Social Security is looking at the 5 years before you became disabled. ERISA carriers or plans are looking at what you were doing at the time of your disability. Social Security is not necessarily using the DOT anymore at step 4. Carriers will probably continue to use the DOT. Social Security looks at both exertional and non-exertional impairments. I tell you, they don't always agree with what the treating physician has to say about restrictions and limitations. And on the ERISA world, carriers will ignore the attending physician statements, comments for their opinions of their peer review doctors, and they will only generally consider physical exertional requirements. So you can see that there is intersection, but some difference. And ultimately, these differences can make a mistake can result in mistakes from a vocational standpoint. Got it? Let's take a break.
Are you a professional with questions about your individual disability policy? You need the Disability Insurance Claim Survival Guide for Professionals. This book gives you a comprehensive understanding of your disability policy, with tips and to-dos that will assist you in submitting a winning disability application. This is one you don't want to miss. For the next 24 hours, we're giving away free copies of the Disability Insurance Claim Survival Guide for Professionals. Order yours today at disabilityclaimsforprofessionals.com.